One of the better quarterback matchups in week 2 is going to be Baylor's Sawyer Robertson against SMU's Kevin Jennings. And I want to talk about Kevin Jennings a little bit more in detail. Kevin Jennings, we're going to talk about what he needs to do for SMU to win this game, because we've seen him play in big games and we've kind of had some mixed results. We've seen him play well against good teams. We've also seen him struggle. So I want to talk about what he needs to do in this one. And if you're SMU, or if you're Kevin Jennings, rather, you feel comfortable because Rhett Lashley has brought in enough talent where there's really not an excuse for you to not have success. You have plenty of guys that are explosive, you have speed, you have talent and depth at multiple positions. There's not really a question of who's going to be there for you. The question is going to be, are you able to get them the football? And how do you perform in big games? Because we've seen him play well against some teams, but other competition, we've seen him struggle. And how he plays in this one could have a big impact on where this team is headed. Getting back to the ACC championship won't be easy. Getting back to the playoff will be even more difficult. And this is a big one early on that you'll have to win, because if you don't, you have another tough one 2 weeks later against TCU. Now, one thing I will say is the talent that he has available at his disposal is going to help him tremendously. You look at Romello Brinson have a big game last week. Jordan Hudson is extremely talented when you give him opportunities. RJ Maryland is, I think, a mismatch waiting to happen. And I think that that's a guy that I really like for Kevin Jennings based on what I've seen from Baylor. Baylor's secondary is going to be physical. They're going to run up to the football. They're going to fly up there and they're going to make hits. But can they cover a guy like RJ Maryland, who has proven time and time again that he is a tough guy to guard? Whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a defensive back, he is someone that gives you that mismatch that if you need to hit someone in a clutch situation, that's where you're going. And I think Kevin Jennings at times has struggled with pressure. And when I say that, I mean, you look at what happened in the Penn State, the playoff game. That was a game where Penn State had him all sorts of confused. They were showing one look pre-snap, and then post-snap it was different. He was making poor decisions. He didn't have RJ Maryland. That was, I think, a big part of it, but I don't even think RJ Maryland would have made enough of a difference in that one. So how do you make smarter decisions? I think that we've seen glimpses of what he can do in big games, but also when you look at, if you look at his games last year, his best games came against competition that everyone would probably consider SMU as the better team. If you had to take a look at some of the games where the defenses were either better or people didn't think that SMU was the better team, you look at BYU, Duke, Clemson, Penn State are probably the big ones. And Clemson and Penn State are probably in the category of being better. You could put BYU in that category probably as well. But also BYU had a defense that was tough. Duke's defense was tough. BYU game, he had 140 yards and 1 pick. The Duke game, 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Clemson was the one game where he actually played really well, and they came up short still. And really, they came up short because they had to give up a long field goal to Clemson that won the game at the buzzer. But he had 304 yards and 3 touchdowns passing. He also ran for another score. Penn State game, probably his worst game of the year. 195 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, negative 25 yards rushing. Now, Kevin Jennings is not consistently going to be a 100-yard rusher. He did it once last year. In fact, he only rushed over 50 yards 2 times. So it's not like his legs are going to be a major factor, but they are part of that. So I'm curious to see if Rhett Lashley and this offensive staff want to use his legs in this game, or if they want to limit how much he's getting out in the open field. Because again, this is a Baylor defense that struggled last week, but there's plenty of talent and hard hitters that can make his life miserable and make it a lot more difficult for him to run downfield or be weary of who's going to hit me this time, because they are going to fly to the football. Now, part of the pressure is also going to be what the SMU defense can do against Baylor's offense. Baylor's offense is stacked. Sawyer Robertson's really good. He has 2 running backs in Bryson Washington and Caden Knighton that are going to be solid. Cole Wilson's a great addition from the transfer portal at wide receiver. Michael Trigg's a mismatch for that SMU defense. That's going to be tough to guard. You also have Ashton Hawkins. There are guys that are going to help Sawyer Robertson and potentially put up points that will put pressure on Kevin Jennings. And if you're SMU, you have to find ways to slow that offense down, but also kind of combat the notion that, hey, we got to keep up, right? We got to be able to put up points. So I think if you're SMU, you have to do well on both sides of the ball to help your quarterback. Not that the defense is a direct correlation to the offense, but the defense has to do its part. SMU can score points. I don't think that's a question. We've seen that time and time again. Rhett Lashley knows what he's doing. But I need to see Kevin Jennings make smart decisions. I need to see him feel comfortable in the pocket. And when you get a different look that you're not expecting, what does your decision-making process go through, and how quickly can you figure out what the defense is doing? Dave Aranda is going to be a difficult coach to beat. And part of it is Rhett Lashley getting in the right play that's going to beat whatever defense Dave Aranda calls. But also you need your quarterback to play at a different level. And if their game plan is more like the Clemson game, I feel good about what they can do. If it's more like the Penn State game, still might have been a good game plan, but execution was bad. They need both. Kevin Jennings has a lot of pressure on him, but I'm excited to see if he can take that step. We'll see if he's utilized as a rusher. We'll see if SMU wants his legs to be a part of it. I think that will build his confidence. Getting him into positive positions and getting positive plays early is going to build his confidence. After that, it's just up to the decision making. Can he understand, okay, well, this is a different look, but how quickly can you figure out, okay, I thought, for instance, this was going to be cover 2. All of a sudden, it looks like it's cover 6, cover 3, whatever it's going to be. How quickly can you figure out this is what it is? I now need to look at this different route or this different read or reads and distribute the ball there, because SMU has too much talent to struggle. And they have too much talent to not make another run. But this is also a tough Baylor team. Baylor is going to be a tough team to beat. Even though they're 0-1, I guarantee that Rhett Lashley is telling his team, don't let this surprise you. Don't let that fool you. This is still a very talented team. And this is a matchup that I'm extremely excited to watch. I'm excited to watch both quarterbacks. But Kevin Jennings, I think, has a lot to prove and a lot that he can do to kind of silence some of the doubters that are kind of writing him off from last year.